get that background right. Love movie magic. Hey everyone, welcome back to Observe. In today's video, I'm going to be doing another Just Deduce It video, which is where you send me pictures of somewhere where you dwell or interact regularly, and I figure out what I can about you just by looking at those pictures. If you want to do something like this, just for starters here, go ahead and send me your pictures. Make sure they're high definition, good resolution. It makes it a little bit more of an actual real-life experience. Instead of staring at 2 or 3 pixels, I get to look at a picture. So high definition or resolution photos only to my email, which is listed in my About section on the channel. Anyways, that being said, we're going to go ahead and take a look at multiple different pictures here. The person sent various ones, kind of in like a pan around style thing. So we'll look at each of them, find details in each of them. I won't explain every single detail in every single photo because a lot of the time it overlaps, things like that. Anyways, that being said, let's go ahead and take a look at image 1 here, and I'm looking on my laptop down here. So if you see me look down, I'm looking at a laptop. So I'm gonna start with the overall feel that I get from this initial photo here, and kind of what I get from that overall feel. And what I end up getting first and foremost is that this is probably a mid to late teenage girl that we're working with, and the reasons for that are going to be like the ambient lights that are up there on that fixture up there on the right, the roses that are on there as well, the music selection. Kind of. That one's actually not as big of a tell because there's a wide variety in there that I know both girls and guys like. Another thing would be like the desktop background. It's a quote from Taylor Swift, which once again, that could be a guy, but that's the feel that I'm getting for that. Some other details that I see that kind of imply the teenage gal sort of feeling are the makeup paraphernalia is kind of like a giveaway, but not necessarily. The well used, like it's been regularly used, the scented candle that's there, that's also another thing that is more common in gals than guys. Not a lot of guys have scented candles right there at their desk. That being said, it's not necessarily a defining factor. These are just ones that kind of give me that feeling. But yeah, those are kind of the things that give me that feel that this is going to be a gal in her mid to late teens. Let's go ahead and move on to some of the other stuff that we can really see from this photo here. You can tell that this person really does like music. Just in general, I think they like a wide variety of music. There's some folk, there's some pop, there's some punk, there's some like indie stuff on there, alternative rock, and that's all over this wall. Literally, it's just a bunch of CD album covers, also that desktop background of the Taylor Swift quote. And then if you look on the right screen on there, that's an album by a band called I Don't Know How, But They Found Me. And it's an alternative rock or indie pop band. And so she's got a wide variety of music that she enjoys there. But also, I think that she not only enjoys listening to music, but she's working on learning how to play music as well. And the reason that I know this is because these papers here over to the left, the top one isn't music related, but the one right underneath that is a guitar chord chart, which, unless you're trying to learn the guitar, I don't know why you would keep a guitar chord chart available. Let's go ahead and move on to the next picture on this list. There's a few things that we can learn from this one as well. First, that I'll start over kind of the left here, is that she's artistically inclined. Those cup holders are full of colored pencils and art pencils themselves, and I know that because I have an art set that comes with those specific type of black-ended pencil, also scissors, things like that. These are all artistically inclined kind of things. I believe she's a gamer for the fairly obvious reasons of there is some gaming paraphernalia up at the top, including a controller. Her keyboard is a gaming keyboard, or what would be considered that. It could obviously just be a keyboard with LEDs that she likes, but I'm thinking it's a gaming keyboard and mouse, and her headphones are fairly slick as well. So I think that she's interested in film or photography or both. And the reason for this is because the papers here over to the left again, that top paper looks to be what would be a film script. I might be wrong on this, but the font style and the spacing style, it's hard for me to see, but it looks like a film script, and this is kind of re-emphasized by over to the side. Off on this side, if you look, that strip of paper is being held up onto the wall by a film strip tape. So that would be kind of part of that inclination that I have that she is interested in film and photography, or both. Let's go ahead and move on to the next picture after this. So this one tells a couple things. We can assume that she appreciates literature if you look at the John Green book collection, and then also just the other various books. There's a lot of books around her immediate sitting area, which implies that she does appreciate literature a fair bit. Along with that, I think that some of her most preferred bands, or at least very preferred bands, will be Fall Out Boy and Taylor Swift. You can tell that by the 2 signed posters up there. If you go and get something signed, it means that you at least prefer those artists. But also, if you're looking here and you notice that dream catcher next to the Fall Out Boy thing, I don't think this is a cultural thing. I don't think she's Native American or anything along those lines. I think that's more of an aesthetic thing or maybe a mindset thing, but I've seen that, I've acknowledged that, and I just hold it as not super quintessential to who she is as a person. Let's go ahead and move on to the next picture though. There's some more telling details actually. This is a fairly telling one in general. Once again, if you look at the general aesthetic of the entire thing, this is obviously a gal a gal's room that we're looking at here. But also, I don't know what that little CD cover next to the Taylor Swift one is up there on the wall. I wish I did, but I can't tell. The photo is a little too low of resolution, but beyond that, you can tell that she likes The Office because of the pillow down there. The only reason that somebody would probably get a Dwight Schrute pillow is because they enjoy The Office. Also, now we know for a fact that this is a gal because if you look on the display screen up there in the bottom left-hand corner, it says the name Hannah L, and that is definitely a gal's name. Now, this might have some tell as to her location, and that is in the right above her name on the display. It's in military time. It's at 1858, which is 6:58 in the 12-hour clock time. And the 24-hour clock, or the military time that we call it over here, is commonly used in European countries. So she might be European. That being said, she could also just like to use military time. Let's go ahead and move on a little bit further to the next photograph. Now, this is a fairly telling picture actually, and we're going to start from the top and kind of work down. So right there at the top, if you see that big book with the red band across the spine, that is a Young's Concordance, and that's the study book on the Bible. And if you look right there to the right of that book that has the gold leafing, that is usually a Bible. So I'm gonna say that she's religiously inclined. If you start panning down onto the rest of the bookshelf, it becomes very blaringly obvious that she really does love literature. There's a lot of books here that are from various different genres, but there's just a lot of books, and nobody who doesn't like reading has a lot of books. So she likes books. She's very literally, she really likes literature. As far as some of the genres that she's working with, I know she likes fantasy, and that's because if you look on this shelf off here to the right-hand side, second shelf down, you could see Brissinger and Aragon, and those are fantasy books written by an author here named Christopher Paolini, and he actually lives here in Montana where I live. And it's funny, I was part of a team who was working with him on developing a better Aragon film. So I got to sit down and meet Christopher for a while and talk to him about various aspects of what he would like to see in a better Aragon film, because if you watched the other Aragon film, you were disappointed. It's just kind of the rule of thumb there, as was he. So she likes fantasy, and this is also kind of made prevalent by a few other of the book choices on there. Kind of along with that, she also has a bit of a nerdy streak, and what I mean by nerdy is more like comic book inclined, and that's made more clear by the pop vinyls that you can see where it's got the Flash and Wonder Woman, and then over here on the bottom right, that I don't know, I can't really quite see what that one is, but it looks like it might be Batman. And if that's true, those three are all characters from the DC universe rather than the Marvel universe, so I think she's more of a DC gal than a Marvel gal. I might be wrong, but I mean, all that I'm saying is that the evidence really does kind of point towards that. Now, something that's really telling in this is the language that stuff is written in. And over here on the side, I'm not gonna even bother pronouncing this, but over here on the side, if you see this green book, that is the inheritance book from the Aragon cycle. And the language that it's presented in is actually Swedish. So that's the Swedish word for heir or inheritance. So this tells me that she's at least studying Swedish, but then if you look at some more of the titles across the rest of the bookshelves, they're all in Swedish as well. So this is more overwhelming evidence that she's Swedish, which I think that's a fairly cool one. And once again, to reaffirm this idea of her liking photography and or film, is the tripod's existence. And then over here to the left, that looks kind of like a camera bag to me. But that's kind of what you can see and really withdraw strongly from the evidence given. Now I'm going to go ahead and cover some of the inferences that this also holds. So for instance, I think that she's introspective, and that's because of her music selection. A lot of those have very heart-driven lyrics, as opposed to those music lyrics that don't, but they're definitely more emotional lyrics that are included in this kind of music. Also with art and that quote on her computer as well. All of these kind of infer that she is an introspective, maybe introverted, but definitely thoughtful person in general. She's also quite creative. This is inferred by like the music chart with the chords. Anybody who likes music is usually more creative. Also the pens and pencils off to the side that infer her artistic inclination in the photography and film things, and then the fantasy books and the comic vinyls. All of those kind of really pool together to say that she is a creative person in general. That also being said, she's very intellectual. She loves books, and anybody who loves books is usually more of an intellectual than not. Along with that, there's that concordance up there at the top, which is a very intensive study guide to the Bible, so that also kind of implies an intellectual tendency. She values humor. The reason that I say that is because of the fact that she has that office pillow, the pillow of Dwight Schrute, and anybody who watches The Office obviously enjoys some humor here and there. So she values that enough to put it on her bed where she sleeps every night, so it's fairly important to her. This part is kind of like probably a no-brainer, but has a lot of evidence to go with it. She considers herself to be eclectic and very unique in that she has a variety of everything, and just in general, she has a variety of music, she has a variety of book collections, she has a variety of various creative outlets pulling her in various ways. She's got a lot of variety, and she surely realizes that and is most likely proud of that, as most people who are like this are, and rightly so. That also being said, she also cares about her appearance, and this is made clear by not only the makeup thing, also backed up by the fact that her room, her setup, is very aesthetically pleasing. It has a common theme kind of all the way around with the ambient lights and the color tones and general setup like that, but then also it's very organized. She's not really messy. The books are well organized. Everything seems to be on display rather than just shoved into various areas, so she is aware and does care about her appearance. But that is kind of what I've learned about Miss Hannah. Hannah, if you're watching this, please let me know in the comments below if I got anything wrong or if it was right. I do appreciate your feedback, plus it also just kind of validates what we're looking at here. So Hannah, as a final thing, you are in your mid to late teens. You're obviously a gal, you're Swedish, you are artistically and creatively inclined, both in actual drawing, but also in music and photography and or film. You love reading, you're probably introverted with those kind of things in mind. You're definitely introspective. You enjoy imaginative things like fantasy and comic books, but you're also very intellectual in that you most likely can hold a very good intellectual conversation fairly effortlessly. But yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and say that that's a good wrap up for today's video. This is a longer one because there was a lot to go through. I hope you enjoyed this video. Once again, if you're watching this and you're thinking to yourself, boy, I would like to be on this, I'd like to have my room featured, go ahead and just email me your photos, make sure they're high quality, to the email listed in my About page, and we can get some stuff working. I will give you a heads up, there's a lot of entries that I'm going through, so it might be a little bit of time, but I will get to it. But without further ado, that is all that I've got for the day. My name is Logan, and you have been oh so awesome, as you always are, and I will see you in the next video. Cheers, guys. Anyways, hi, welcome back to Observe. How are you doing today? This is the part where you would metaphorically respond to me. I don't know why I even tried to like do you know what? Anyway, let's start this over. Hey everyone, welcome back to Observe. Oh my gosh, it's hot in here. Alright, time to get to editing this. Good chat.